Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Monday morning. I assume you all will be because obviously Manchester United beat Manchester City yesterday in the derby. But before we get into this morning's show, please do me one small favour. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up. It really helps YouTube to show more people the channel and the video. So I'd really appreciate that. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode today. And if this is your first time watching, don't forget to subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, the content is completely free. It doesn't cost you any money to subscribe. And yeah, we're on the road to 40k, so let's try and achieve that by the end of the year. So we've got about 2 weeks to do it, so go and subscribe right now. Right, on the show this morning, we're going to be talking a little bit more in detail about Marcus Rashford and Garnacho and revealing what really went on in relation to them not being picked yesterday for the Manchester derby. We'll also be reacting to a story that apparently Manchester United are going to announce their first signing under the Rashford Amorim era, and that will be today, apparently. Obviously, we'll be talking about the Manchester derby, talking a little bit about the next couple of games, lots to get into. And as always, I invite you to have your say on all things Manchester United in the comment section below. The main focus of the show is obviously going to be Marcus Rashford and Garnacho. So I want you to give me your thoughts on Marcus Rashford and Garnacho. What would you do with those two players? What should Manchester United do? Did Rashford Amorim make the right decision? Let me know how you're feeling. Right, let's jump straight on into that then, shall we? Because Rashford Amorim was obviously asked after the game yesterday why they weren't picked. And I just want to say from the off, right? I think what Rashford Amorim has done here is incredible. I have nothing but respect for him for doing this. Nothing but respect for the way that he's conducted himself in dealing with Marcus Rashford and Garnacho. But also, he's done it in a way where he's not going to create a divide in the team. I remember when Erik ten Hag tried to do things like this, the wording of it was slightly different, and I don't know, it just created this kind of toxicity, this hostile environment, didn't it? Whereas what Rashford Amorim has effectively said, right? So the reason why they were not picked in the lineup yesterday was because they weren't training as well as the other players, okay? And he's effectively saying that this is Rashford Amorim's own words. He says he doesn't care how much money they're paid. He doesn't care, what the name is on the back of their shirt. He doesn't care how much Manchester United paid for them in transfer fees. Whoever it is, whether it's Ahmad, whether it's Ugarte, whether it's Bruno, whether it's Rashford, if they don't perform in training and they don't work hard, they don't conduct themselves in the correct way around the players, around the other staff. They don't eat right. They don't. If they don't do all of the right things, they won't be selected. It's as simple as that. And it doesn't matter whether you're Marcus Rashford. It doesn't matter whether you're Bruno. It doesn't matter whether you're Ahmad. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you've just scored 2 goals in a game. If that next week you don't train properly, then you're not going to be picked. And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And this is what we've been needing for a long time, and we haven't had a manager really since Sir Alex Ferguson, I would say, who's kind of conducted himself in this way. I think Jose Mourinho kind of did it, but again, Jose Mourinho would end up just falling out with the players and, publicly criticising them. Whereas Rashford Amorim is very clear. He said, from Monday morning onwards, it's a new week. If Garnacho and Rashford train hard, eat properly, and conduct themselves in the right way, there'll be a consideration for the game against Tottenham on Thursday. If they don't do those things, then they won't. It's as simple as that. And that's how it should be every single game. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you're paid. I don't care, how many shirts you sell or whatever it might be. If you don't train properly and you're not being professional, then you're not going to play for Manchester United. It's as simple as that. So obviously this story's been made a lot bigger than it actually is. But I think the way that Rashford Amorim explained it was very clear. He said Johnny Evans is fit. Johnny Evans trained well this week, but there's no space in the team for him because, Lindelof trained better. It's as simple as that. But obviously, because Garnacho and Rashford are, big name players, people are going into meltdown. But let's recontextualize this in relation to yesterday's game. Did we miss Garnacho and Rashford yesterday? I don't personally think we did. Now, if we'd have lost that game, obviously the situation would have been very different. People would probably be like, why did he not bring Garnacho? We might have won if we brought Garnacho. Like, I see that whole argument, of course. But the fact that we won, and something really interesting came up earlier on today on my Twitter feed. So David Beckham posted out on his Instagram story just saying, like, well done, Manchester United. But he also said that it's great to see players on the pitch who actually want to die for Manchester United. I think that was the word he used. Effectively, it felt like a bit of a subtle dig, where he's effectively saying that all of those players who played yesterday, whether it's Manuel Ugarte, whether it's Bruno Fernandes, whether it's Harry Maguire, whether it's Amad Diallo, every single one of those players yesterday gave 150%. Would you agree? There was nobody. Some of them are obviously not as good as others. Some of them might need to be sold. I agree with all of that. But the bare minimum we ask for is that these players give 150% because they're playing for the biggest club in the world. They're being paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. That's the bare minimum, right? That they go out there and they play as if it's their last game of football. And let's be honest, Marcus Rashford and Garnacho haven't been like that in the last couple of months. I mean, Garnacho, at times, I think, looks like he cares, but at other times he doesn't. And Marcus Rashford, I don't think, cared for about 18 months. He's checked out completely. So this, for me, is 100% the correct decision from Ruben Amorim. I've got no criticism of it whatsoever. I want players who just have that drive, that hunger, that love for the club. And I think that Rashford specifically doesn't. I think Garnacho does. I think he's just maybe got a little bit complacent. He's got a little bit thinks he's going to be picked every single game now, which isn't how it should ever be at a football club. You should never have a player who thinks that they're just undroppable. Now, people would say, what about Bruno? I don't know. I think Bruno's maybe an exception, and you can see from how Bruno conducts himself on the pitch. He gives 150% every single game. Yes, he sometimes makes bad passes. Yes, sometimes he gives the ball away. Okay, fine. But you can never doubt Bruno Fernandes' work rate and his love for the club. And, he always tries, doesn't he? Whereas, some of these other names I've just mentioned, I don't think they do a lot of the time. But, so yeah, that's the situation with Garnacho and Rashford. It's a new week now. If they're in Carrington this morning, which I expect they will be, they train hard and they're professional around the training field, they'll be picked on Thursday. It's as simple as that. And that's how it should always be. It should always be based on how the team, 1, play on the pitch, 2, how they train, and 3, their professionalism. And obviously Ruben Amorim broke that down. He said he looks at all the small details. He looks at how they conduct themselves with the staff, with the teammates, what they're eating. I don't know, whether they were late for training, all sorts of things. And that's how it should be. It should be everything. It should be every fine detail. And I know some people will be like, oh, well, what? So he's going to drop our best player because he doesn't like his shoes. I mean, it's not as simple as that. That's a bit of a stupid example, but it's taking everything into consideration. It's not just about the name. It's not just about, So that's my take on that. But obviously, I'd like to know what you guys think about this whole Marcus Rashford and Garnacho situation. Do you think this has been handled correctly? Are you happy with it? I am 100% happy with it. And the most important thing for me is having a team of players that, all want to play as one. They're united, they're united as one. And I think that if those players aren't, then they don't play. It's as simple as that. I don't care whether they're Marcus Rashford or Garnacho. I don't care, Al says Eric Ten Hag should have done that with Sancho. He held a grudge for too long. I 100% agree with you, mate. That's what I said at the beginning of the show. Eric Ten Hag tried to do this. He tried to do the exact thing that Ruben Amorim is doing, but he just did it in the wrong way. He didn't conduct himself properly, and that then meant that we had this whole Sancho versus Eric Ten Hag thing for 12 months, didn't we? And it was ridiculous. That situation could have been squashed in a heartbeat. He could have just said, Sancho didn't train well this week, but next week's a new week. He's got a fresh, clean slate. Let's see what he can do. That's what should have been said publicly. Whereas instead, he was just criticising Sancho, wasn't he, constantly? And it didn't get us anywhere. So you have to give Ruben Amorim a lot of credit for this situation, on how he's, handled it. And, even people will say, oh, how the hell is Anthony on the bench? Well, Anthony must have trained well. It's as simple as that. Just because Anthony hasn't been very good for us doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve a chance. If Anthony's in training, giving 150% for the last week, and Rashford and Garnacho are giving 20%, I would rather have Anthony on the bench, who's been giving 150% all week, than Garnacho and Rashford, who haven't. It's as simple as that. And I know people will be like, oh, well, Garnacho's better than Anthony. I would rather have a player who's actually trying and is less good than a player who's not trying and doesn't care, who's slightly better. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you build a great team. But let me know what you guys all think. Do you think this has been handled correctly? Do you think this is how it should be, handled going forward? Or do you think that players like Rashford and Garnacho should be picked regardless of the effort they put in? I know some people will think that, in some top clubs, they would just keep picking them over and over again. M-Dub says this is the manager stamping his authority, and I love it. I agree with you 100%. Even if we'd have lost yesterday's game, my stance would have been the same. I want to see more of this. I want to see more. And do you know what as well, actually? I want to really, really focus on one quote, okay? And this, for me, I thought was probably the most special thing that Ruben Amorim has said so far. So when he was asked about Marcus Rashford and Garnacho, he said, lots of people at the club are losing their jobs, okay? We all know that Ineos have come in and made hundreds of people redundant. They're removing Christmas bonuses. They're not having Christmas staff parties for the normal working class people. Hundreds of people have lost their jobs at Manchester United in the last couple of months. And Ruben Amorim says, when you've got people, normal people, so this isn't, coaches, this is people working in the marketing department. It might be people working in the canteen. It might be whatever, cleaners, normal jobs like me or you. He said, when you've got normal people losing jobs at the club and then your players aren't giving 100%, that's not acceptable. And that for me is just, on a human level, that's such a powerful quote to say. And it's him acknowledging that, people in and around Manchester United, normal working class people, local Manchester people are losing their jobs at the moment at Manchester United because of Ineos. Maybe that's the right thing to do. Okay, maybe that, maybe our staff is too bloated. We don't need them. Fine. That's okay. Whatever. But if that's happening, you can't then have people like Rashford and Garnacho on 300 grand a week walking around like they don't care when there's other normal people who are probably earning £30,000 a year, normal money, and they're losing their jobs. That's not okay, and it's a reality check for these players that they're superstars. They're millionaires. They've got generational wealth. They have massive brands. They earn more in a day, probably, genuinely. Think about it. Marcus Rashford probably earns more in a day than what the average Manchester United employee earns in a year. And that's not even an exaggeration. He's on 350k a week. Most people in the UK are on about 30,000 a year. So he's genuinely will be earning about what one of the cooks in Carrington or the groundsman or the cleaners, like he'll be earning in a day what one of them earns in a year. So if he comes into training one day and puts in a half-assed effort, walks around like he doesn't care, is, off with all of the staff, and then those staff are losing their jobs, is that all right? It's not. This is obviously on more of a human level than on football. But when you look at it like that, and for Ruben Amorim to come out and say that, I just think is so powerful. And that was, when he said that yesterday, I just think, like, fair play to him. That's what we need. We need someone with a human element to him, and he clearly has that. And after he said that, my respect for him went from, it was already very high. I really like Ruben Amorim, but it went to a whole nother level because I think that's such a powerful thing to say, to acknowledge that people in and around Manchester United are losing their jobs. And for that reason alone, it's not acceptable for your players to turn up to training like they don't care. Maybe I've focused on that point too much, but I just think it's really powerful and it's really important. We've got over 500 people in the room today. If everyone could do me a small favour and smash a like, that'd be really, really appreciated. We're trying to get to 500 likes on this video. And if this is your first time watching, don't forget to subscribe as well. We are literally about to hit 40,000 subscribers. I would love to do that by the end of 2024 at the latest. So if this is your first time watching right now, please do go and subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. It doesn't cost you any money. It's completely free. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat this morning. What have we got? Somebody in the chat says that they heard that the club and Amorim are going to do things in January which will shock the fans. Well, I hope so. I mean, I would sell Rashford in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. He'd be gone. Out the door. I wouldn't even think about it. He would be literally one of the first to go, Marcus Rashford. Garnacho, I still think has some use. I think, as a squad player, I don't think he's good enough to start for Man United, to be honest, personally. Not because he doesn't have the talent, but I just don't think he's a team player, Garnacho. And if he can change his game, then I think Garnacho could be a starting player for us for a long, long time. I don't know. I just feel like Garnacho has that main man syndrome, like Ronaldo does. He has to be the main man. But the difference is Garnacho isn't Ronaldo, he's just not, is he? He's a good footballer, but I don't think he's like world class. I think he's Would he get in the Arsenal team? No. Would he get in the Liverpool team? No. Would he get in the City team? No. Would he get in would he even get in the Newcastle team over Anthony Gordon? Probably not. Would he get in the Tottenham team over Kulusevski? No, probably not. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a good footballer, Garnacho, but he's not world class, and he's not good enough for me to have that main man syndrome where every time he gets the ball, he shoots. Every time there's a pass on, he shoots. We need a team of squad players. We need a team of players who want to help others, like Ahmad does. Not a team of people who think they're better than others. But right, let's see what else people have said in the chat today. Al says, Amarim is making us proud of the club for the first time since Sir Alex left. He is doing good things. Yeah, and just to say as well, right, my view on Amarim would have been the same if we'd have lost yesterday. I think it's so powerful to shake things up and let these players know that if they don't work hard, they're not going to play. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you're on. If you're not going to work hard, you're out. And that's what we need. And we've needed that for a decade. We have allowed Manchester United to be a club where people come for massive money and then their performance levels drop in half. Okay? And people keep asking, why is it that Manchester United sign players and suddenly they go from being a world-class player to an average player? That must just be simply because of the environment that we've allowed over the last decade. Most big clubs wouldn't allow that, But instead, at Manchester United, you can come here, earn massive money, put in half-assed attempts, and you'll still be picked. And that can't continue. And it's clear to see that Ruben Amorim is changing things up. So massive respect to Ruben Amorim. Obviously, in relation to yesterday's game against Manchester City, I thought we played absolutely amazingly. And I saw Gary Neville yesterday, right? And I like Gary Neville. I don't know why people hate him so much, but he does say some things which I question, and he does seem to have an agenda against Manchester United, which I think is a bit weird considering he's a Manchester United fan. But he said after the game that Man United didn't play well. And I was thinking, what game did you watch? It was 50-50 possession, which is unheard of against Manchester City, even in their current run of form, right? Manchester City still usually get a lot of possession. To go to the Etihad and get 50% possession is unheard of. It's not normal, right? I think we had the better opportunities. Bruno Fernandes should have scored, shouldn't he? He was one-on-one and he missed. Rasmus Højlund should have had a penalty. That would have been 2 goals there. We already got 2 goals, so that could have been 4-1. And Kyle Walker probably should have got a red card. So if you look at it in normal times, right? In a normal game, Bruno Fernandes scores that chance. We get that other penalty for Højlund, and that probably would have been 3 or 4-1. And Kyle Walker would have been sent off. Manchester City didn't have any chances at all, if I remember. They had 1 shot from Foden, which deflected off Maguire and went wide. But other than that, they didn't have any chances at all. So I don't really understand why there was this agenda coming out from Gary Neville after the game saying oh, it was great they won, but they didn't play very well. You've gone to the Etihad. Yes, they're in a poor run of form, whatever, fine. You've gone there. We had 49% possession. We had more shots than them. Our XG was 2. Their XG was 0.8. What's he talking about? Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I thought we played well yesterday. Usually when we go to the Etihad, we park the bus and hit on the counter-attack. We didn't do that. What else have we got in the chat, though? Footmod says, I think we turn good players into average players because when they join, they are surrounded by average players that have been at the club for longer than they should have, but these summer signings have been great. Yeah, I agree, to be fair. I think obviously it is that, but also it's because Manchester United allow these players to play badly and then they don't punish them. There isn't any consequences. If you turn up late to training, if you don't put in 150%, you still get picked. Whereas at other top clubs, if you're not training properly, you just won't play. It's as simple as that. And that's what Ruben Amorim is trying to do. He's saying, I don't care whether you're Marcus Rashford, whether you're Bruno, whether you're Ugarte, whether you're Ahmad, whoever you are, if you don't train, to my standards, you're not going to play. It's as simple as that. And there's no more to it than that. It's as simple. Right, let's talk a little bit about this signing that's apparently going to be announced today then. So this is being reported quite widely this morning that apparently Manchester United will be announcing the signing of Paraguayan left-back Diego Leon. Apparently that's going to be announced today. That was confirmed earlier on by a couple of very reliable journalists. Very excited about this. Only 17 years of age. Obviously, he's one for the future. He's going to be loaned back to the club he currently plays for in Paraguay at the moment until, I think, the summer, which makes sense. He's only 17. So yeah, really excited to see what he can do. I'll be honest, until about a week ago, I'd never heard of him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm a South American football expert, because I'm not. I've never heard of the guy, but I've watched quite a lot of videos. I've read quite a few reports on him, and he seems to be very far ahead for his age group. Very physical, which is obviously what we need in the Premier League. He's played 21 games so far in the Paraguayan league this season at the age of only 17, which is, that is impressive. Whether whether you're excited about this deal or not, to have played that much football at the age of 17 is good. But so hopefully he can be a success at Manchester United. As I said, he probably won't walk straight into the first team, because he's obviously going to be loaned back to his current club at the moment, and then he'll join permanently in the summer. So that's exciting to see. Ant says Amorim is doing what Ten Hag promised to do but didn't end up doing, picking players based on performances. Yep, I agree. Sean says Amorim will change their attitude, hopefully. Vanity says Garnacho has been promoted too soon. He wasn't ready yet for first team football. Yeah, I still just think with Garnacho, I think he's a good impact sub. I don't think for a whole 90 minutes Garnacho and Rashford are effective. I think both of them as impact subs is great, but team player wise, they're just not there. Somebody says, did you see Ruben Amorim's... Sorry, he says, do you see Manuel Ugarte's interview? He said that Ruben Amorim's communication is so good. Yeah, I mean, it's clear to see that Ruben Amorim is very good with people. Like, even just in his press conferences, I always find myself very engaged with them. Whereas under Erik ten Hag, I was just sat there like, oh my God, not another Erik ten Hag press conference. It was like watching paint dry sometimes. And I know that sounds a bit harsh, but it was. Whereas Ruben Amorim conducts himself in a really good way. Even if we lose, win, draw, I think he still holds himself very high. So I have nothing but respect for Ruben Amorim at the moment. What else have we got here in the chat? Let's have a little look. Chris says that he thinks we played well against Manchester City and we were way more disciplined. Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, let's move on from that though. Let's move on to, obviously, the game on Thursday. In relation to injuries for that game, obviously Mason Mount's probably going to be out for God knows how long. Weeks, I would imagine, maybe months. We're still waiting to find out exactly what's wrong with Mason Mount. But yeah, I mean, Mason Mount for me, it's a shame, because I actually like Mason Mount. I would much rather see Mason Mount in the... just seeing a meme on... I would much rather see Mason Mount in the team than Rashford or Garnacho. But obviously it is what it is now, isn't it? Mason Mount's injured. He's probably going to be out for a while, isn't he? But let's hope not. Let's hope that it was just a little, something he felt and he's fine. But I just think Mason Mount is injury prone. We can all say that. He was injured all of last season. He's had 3 different injuries so far in this season alone. And we've only played, I think, 15 games maybe in the Premier League? And he's had 3 injuries. He comes back, he plays 1 good game, and then he's injured again. So it's a shame, really. But obviously we play Tottenham on Thursday, which is not going to be an easy match. I'm also doing my driving test on Thursday. So Thursday is quite a big day. We're going to have the driving test. And then later on that day, we're going to have the... Manchester United versus Tottenham game. So we're going to have to keep our fingers and toes crossed for that one. Hopefully I pass my driving test and then we beat Tottenham. That'll be a great day for everybody, won't it? But I'm going to wrap the video up here, I think, guys. It feels like a good point to end today's show. Thank you very much for joining me on the channel. I hope you have an amazing Monday, an amazing week. I will be back tomorrow morning. Obviously, if anything breaks, any breaking news goes out, I will obviously go live as always. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you drop a like and get in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed on today's show. Have a great day, everybody. I'll speak to you all later. Bye for now.